I am going to talk more about the combination of my two roles, because actually there's an inflection point naturally between government and business, as has been highlighted already. And in the area of skills, we're actually at a point in time where we haven't been in this situation since the last last move of this last century. So we're now going into what is termed the fourth industrial revolution. And what comes with that is actually a lot of disruption and a lot of change. And it means also a change in terms of the skills that are required from our workforces and from employees. And I'm sure a lot of businesses are seeing the same trend. So I'd like to talk about some of the topics that are being discussed in the UK Skills and Productivity Board. And it's really focusing on future skills, but also what does Great Britain and Ireland need to prosper in the future. And I think a few of the trends have actually been discussed already. But let me start with something like digitalisation. We're starting to see customers and consumers looking for things faster, and they're looking for more customization. If you see things like buying a training shoe online, and you can now customize colors, etc. We're getting into an age where platforms are actually taking over our lives. And what it means is that we've now got a nation of people who are actually not digitally savvy. They're not necessarily digital. We've got this huge disruption coming also with robotic process automation that's actually taking out some of the lower skilled positions. And that puts a lot of pressure on business at the moment, because there's a huge upskilling of society required. And if you look at the demographic of people, and maybe people who've traditionally did certain jobs, where it's now required that they have other skills, digital skills, immediately we need to think about partnerships with government about, in terms of the investment required to realise that. And I think that's a huge investment, and I certainly hear that is understood. But in my own organisation, I'm obviously aware that there's a lot of financial impact to realise that, but to also meet our strategic goals as an organisation, because we do want to be leading edge, we do want to be innovative. And I think these digital skills, and another topic which is so important in terms of wider skills and entry-level talent in schools, for example, or further education, colleges and universities, is the move of digital is also putting a huge onus on social skills. And I'm actually hearing a lot of schools talk about how do we inject some EQ into entry-level talent to school children that is becoming so important in the future. And we've actually saw that over the pandemic. And I've certainly saw it in my own leadership, that to touch another human being remotely requires a lot of listening skills, a lot of humility, and an understanding of connecting to another person using more sensory skill sets. Yeah. And I think this is going to become more and more important in the future as we are disrupted digitally, and that we're adopting those new technologies. There will be a much bigger focus on human interaction and human emotion, because that's actually going to be the most important thing after we start to see an increase in artificial intelligence, for example. And I think also from a school's perspective, we will start to look for people who, have a wider range, maybe not necessarily completely academic. And if I just talk about my own organisation, some of the changes, historically, we've gone for best graduates, best school leavers, top marks, very focused on academia. And now in our selection processes, we're looking for people that are actually problem solvers, that have good communication skills, good persuasion skills, but are actually understood, they have empathy and they are authentic. And there's a massive change, I think, post-pandemic, and you will start to see this, I think, some of the topics we talked about with net zero and sustainability, this idea of business responsibility, that young people actually want to join an organization that has a purpose. And the purpose is very important to them. And at the same time, we need to recruit people who have these softer skills and are not necessarily focused on black and white analysis, data, and getting things right first time. So I think, that's definitely starting to be the future of work, and we're starting to see a lot of those trends. And I'll come on in a second about things like leveling up. I think that change in mindset and also the adoption of a more inclusive society, we start to, as we're recruiting, and people with different backgrounds. There's been a lot of focus on gender in the last few years.
So I think the yes campaign looks a bit like a political campaign or something like that. That they did in the South a couple of years ago.
Some interference.
I want to go with
if I can just ask if anybody isn't speaking, just if they could, that would be great. Angela, you'll just need to unmute there.
Yeah, no, I've got it. Thank you, Gareth. Social diversity is becoming more and more important. We've focused a lot on ethnicity, on gender, but actually, I think if we're looking for people with wider skills and those social skills, we're also looking at different backgrounds and what people can bring to the party, and how they've grown up, what their culture is, what social background they have, which part of the United Kingdom and Northern Ireland are they coming from. And it's very important that we get that mix in society to make better decisions and for companies to be more successful. I truly believe that. I think the other big trend in skills, and certainly the future of work, is around this, again, responsibility towards the planet and the road to net zero. And certainly in my own company, and I know this is a very sort of, present topic in UK government as well, is green economy. And you've probably saw a lot of the investments that were made by the European Union into green skills. And this is something that I believe will also sort of create a new skill set in society. And there's going to have to be a discussion made by all the countries within UK and Ireland about, what is it that we're good at? What makes a great Britain and Northern Ireland? What are the skill sets? What sets us out from other countries? Is it fintech, which is marvellous to hear is growing in Northern Ireland? Is it cybersecurity? Is it manufacturing? Is it pharmaceutical? And to identify those skills, and those markets are all being disrupted by road to net zero. And those markets and sectors are going to require, an injection of new life into, with new skills around understanding, waste management, green supply chains, making sure you're partnering with companies that, are bought into anti-slavery, that understand the entire circular economy of where their goods come from. There's again this knowledge and new thinking that will come in the next few years. And I think certainly in Northern Ireland and the UK, we've got to look at how we work with business to identify the gaps and to make the necessary investments. This also what brings me up to the sort of levelling up strategy, which I'm sure a lot of you are all familiar with. I've been quite vocal in, towards certainly the DFE in the UK, about, as a business person, would I invest in Belfast or Blackpool or Glasgow if there's not an investment in infrastructure from above? And what are the skills around? What are the universities? Where are the colleges? What are you going to do to invest in transport and technology and innovation? And I think that combination of business and government is so important for the future of this island, or these islands. And I think that conversation certainly starting, but obviously needs to continue. It's been great for me to hear some of the initiatives going on in Northern Ireland, and I have to sort of put my hand up, and you'll have to forgive me, is that what are the strong verticals, what are the strong markets in Northern Ireland? And I'm sure there's people on the call that can really add value to that in the later sessions. But I think it's that identification, and then looking at the school system, at the investments, what are the skills for the future, and the relationship with business to turn that whole situation around and be ready and fit for the future. I think my final remark is really talking about my experience with Siemens. Is we are under a lot of disruption right now from China. So there's a lot of I'm making a lot of components that are now being undercut on price. I'm seeing jobs leaving the UK that were previously one of our best performing markets. So certainly around gas turbines, around blade manufacturing, around certain electrical components. And I'm now sitting with an aging workforce, and what's happening is, how do we reskill those people and look for these new business models, these new technologies, these emerging opportunities. And it's a lot of what we're hearing are customers looking for, can you come and help me be more sustainable? Can you come and support me in my own manufacturing process to deliver a greener product? Please, can you come and help me decentralize energy and be more innovative? And customers are coming to us now as solution provider. But what it's telling us, because we're operating in so many markets, is this change of future of work is happening everywhere. The digitalization, the technology, the move towards green and sustainability, road to net zero, the move of requiring more social and empathetic skills, different leadership is required, and I think this is back to the point about how do you act as a responsible business. And certainly for us, we are seeing those investors that Lisa mentioned earlier saying, I'm expecting your portfolio to look like this in the future. And if you're not on the boat with this, then I am not going to invest in your company. So it's a very, very serious topic. And at the moment, it's really in its infancy, but it's about to get to a level of maturity very, very quickly. And I think I would just echo the point of, I love what BITC stands for. I've got a bit of a history with them, and I think it's right now that voice is required between business, community, and government to make sure that we continue to innovate alongside competition overseas for Great Britain and Northern Ireland. So important. Thank you.